I will go ahead and call the meeting to order at 4:30 pursuant to remote attendance pursuant to state executive orders 2020-07 and 2020-18, which can be found in the agenda and also they'll be in the minutes. I will request a motion for the consent agenda, which includes the approval of agenda, approval of February 18th, 2021, regular meeting minutes, and the annual meeting minutes. So can I have a motion?
I so move.
All right. Need a second?
I second it. Sophia.
Thanks. So we'll have to do roll call. So Amy, or yes. Okay. Kate?
Yes.
Sophia?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Samantha? Yes. All right. So Rick, do we have any public comments?
There are none.
Any written communications?
None.
Okay. So the city librarians report.
Well, February is always and I didn't open that up in here. February is always an interesting month from the admin side, because we spend most of the time working on the annual reports. But we all and working on the per capita grant, which was submitted this week. I wanted to take a look at the CERC numbers. As expected, they're down. As expected, use of electronic circulating materials is up. It's up 23%. But what I found really interesting, a year ago today, and for the 6 years prior that I was here, circulating electronic resources represented 10% of the overall circulation. It is now up to 21% of our circulation. Now there are two factors that go into that. One is electronic circulation is going up, but also the physical circulation is going down. I suspect that once we, fully reopen, it'll drop again, but it's not going to drop to 10%. I don't think so. I think it's going to continue to be hovering around probably at least 12 to as much as 15% for some time. And what that's going to mean for us in the long run, I can't say that I've completely figured out yet, but it will kind of inform our budget, some of our budget decisions going forward, and how we allocate, not the total amount of money spent on materials, but how we allocate within that budget line internally. New patron registrations were actually, I thought, kind of strong for the amount of for the foot traffic. We had 87 new patrons. The foot traffic was, of course, down. Programs were down a lot because February of last year was the last month that was pre-pandemic. It'll be interesting to see our numbers in March as compared to last March, because it'll be a lot more apples to apples. We had on March 1st, I think you all have met Michelle Whitehead now, and Michelle is now serving as our administrative secretary. This month we also promoted from within two people. Robert Davis was promoted from library page to library clerk 1. Janet Denton was promoted from library clerk 1 to library clerk 2. I think, Susan, did you work with Janet? She might be one of the.
Yeah, I think she was there when I
was here when she's been here
a long time.
And this is her second stint at the library. So we're really glad that she's moved up. I think I'll probably leave most of the rest of it to the division heads unless anybody has any specific questions for me.
I had a question regarding the circulation numbers.
Yes.
So I know we compare like like right now we're comparing 2021 to 2020 numbers.
Mhm.
Do you are you going to continue doing that year to year, or are you going to compare like 2021 to like the pre-pandemic numbers as well?
So, I mean, I do it two ways. I do, the same, I compare it to the same month last year, but let me share my screen. But I also look at the 12-month trend.
Okay.
So you'll see towards the right,
Yeah.
up there, you've got from March of 2019, or March of 2019 to February of 2020, and as compared to March of 2020 to February 2021. Well, that's just a plummet,
Right.
because we're talking about essentially one full year of pandemic numbers. So I can provide you with, we can frame it any way you want. And if the board directs me to have some other comparison that might be more helpful or useful, I'm happy to do it. These are weird times, and I don't know how much, so let's say we just got the document, bridge to phase 5 from the governor's office on how we moved to phase 5. And it looks like it, optimistically could happen, begin to happen this summer. Let's say we get fully open and then we're crushing it. Boy, the numbers are skyrocketing. I mean, what does that tell us? So I'd be happy to frame it and look at it any way you guys request. So this is the standard way, which is not maybe the most useful thing right now. So I'm happy to talk about that in committee or here, however you guys would like to do it, and I can provide that for you, because it's easily enough obtained.
I haven't really thought about it. It just kind of struck me because we're supposed to be going back to eventually pre-pandemic. So I don't know at what point do we want to try to go back to compare and see.
Yeah.
We may not be able to.
It's a good question. And
it's a problem everyone's going to run into. So I don't know.
Right. And it's a good question. And one thing that the reason we don't say compare, I'm not sure whether we've covered this even in Carl's tenure, but the reason we don't compare the February 2021 numbers to January 2021 is because we have predictable seasonal fluctuations. We know the summer is going to be higher than the winter, for example. So we like to compare apples to apples. How was June this year compared to June last year? But I agree that the fact that we were closed in June of 2021 kind of complicates that a little bit.
Hey, Rick, a question on that. And I agree with what you said. It's kind of difficult looking at numbers. Everybody faces that because of the pandemic, what it did, shutting things down and so on. But be curious to know, for instance, is February 2021 higher than January 2021? Is January 2021 higher than December 2020, and so on and so on and so on, to see if, is it in, somewhere we bottomed out in 2020, and, are things slowly ratcheting back up?
That's a great question, and as soon as my spreadsheet opens up, I can answer that for you. Here it is. So we actually, the total circulation for February 2021 was 17,352. For January was 14,016. So February was an increase from January, but we were closed for much of January. So again, there's confounding factors, but I can add that. I can keep comparing it, and keep you guys.
I think one of the ways that we may be able to tell if we are getting back to normal is basically from now until we compare 3 years in a row, like compare 19, 20, and 21. And then as soon as we start to see, or even compare 19 to 21 as opposed to 20, like just get rid of 20, not necessarily get rid of it, but we don't really need that information is not that helpful. But if we compare 19 to 21, then maybe we can start to figure out if we're getting back to normal, if we are increasing our traffic, stuff like that. I don't know. That's just a thought.
But we'd still want to see the electronic usage as well. Like,
Oh, sure.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
And I think it probably would be more useful to do 2019 comparison, but only like once we start kind of getting back. I don't know, but
Well, then eventually we'll do 21 to 22. I don't think we'll have to go back any further. Like 20 was kind of an awkward year.
Yeah, to say the least.
So, I mean, if it's not too much trouble, maybe just add 19 back to that spreadsheet and we can see.
Yeah, I mean, I already have the complete, 2019 spreadsheet. So yeah, it's easy. Yeah. It's easy enough to throw that in there.
Yep. Okay. Well, maybe next month. So any other questions for Rick?
So let me, just to be clear, so you want to see like the last 12 months, the 12 months prior to that, and the 12 months prior to that in a rolling sort of way, right? Because that's what I report to you now. I give you February 2021 compared to February 2020, but I also give you the last 12 months compared to the 12 months prior.
I think, Rick, you have a good point about the seasonal part of the library, because I've noticed on my time here that it is seasonal. So it's definitely better to compare month to the previous year of that same month, as opposed to comparing, February to September.
Yeah, I thought it would. I just assumed it would be the same, but we would have an extra column of 2019 as well. Does that sound right, guys? Or
like a Feb 19, Feb 20, Feb 21.
Yes.
So we're looking at the same month, just in different years.
Yes.
Got it. There now. I've got it. And I can tell you that. Yeah, that makes sense. I can do that. I'll add the third column.
Well, and then we'll see what it tells us, because it might. We'll see how helpful, So, all right. Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to division head. So Robert, are you ready? Your librarian study, you're on mute.
Yes, and Rick's pretty much covered the circulation part, and those are usually the numbers that I work with for the most part. But we use them in-house, those numbers, for staffing. I even drill down from hour to hour, see how busy it's going to be certain parts of the day and how much staff we need, certain parts of the day. So, and he doesn't ask for those, but he can get them if he wants them, or I can supply them. But so we do drill down. And so a lot of those numbers, we've actually, he's covered what our circulation has done. And of course, we had 108 curbside visits last month. We also, as you mentioned, we promoted 2 people. We promoted one of our patrons one of our staff from a page to a clerk 1, and the other one from clerk 1 to clerk 2. So we did that looking at the job that was vacated last year, the routing clerk job, and we saved, I think, with about $10,000 by just promoting 2 people instead of trying to fill another position. So, and I think we got, a lot of, we got someone in both positions that they can do more duties. They're more flexible and they're able to work different hours. And we think we have the better coverage in the department. So for circulation, that's for the most part. He's mentioned Michelle, who's completing, for the most part, the onboarding that we started her with. She's doing great, doing a great job picking up things really quick. So it's just it's fascinating. It's allowed me a chance to be on vacation, which is where I'm at now. So, so I really appreciate Michelle. Thank you. And that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and up in admin, we've also we've been able to start dividing up the tasks and the duties and responsibilities. So Michelle and Betty Jo are sort of realizing, you know, what's responsibilities that they have, and we're able to actually start following those job descriptions. So it's a good time.
I'd like to point out that Robert added a new thing he's tracking in this month's report, that his staff, the circulation staff, fielded and resolved 42 customer service calls with one problem or another. So that's useful and interesting to see that that's an aspect of their job that we don't talk about a lot.
Yeah, everybody's, I mean, especially the clerks, they're on the front lines, and they're, you know, there's a lot of people who are not happy to go up there. I mean, I'm usually happy, so, but I'm one person.
Becky couldn't join us today. Becky lost her mother early this week, so she is back home right now. Also, Matt is just having, ironically, technical issues at home, so he can't get on.
Okay. So then that would be Alyssa next. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
It's interesting because since we try to keep it brief, only 2 minutes each time we meet, there's so much that we're not covering. So I went back over some of my previous monthly reports to find something along the lines of what our department's doing with local schools. So for instance, back in October, John Shirley upstairs, he collaborated with DPS 61 and did a video tour with the Eisenhower special needs students. And it was very interesting because at the time they could still come into the library, and many of them came in to see some of the things he had talked about. And also John and Amanda did a video tour with Dennis first grade students. And next I'm going to talk about Susan. She's been working with Dr. Sherrod of the Young Leaders in Action to cross-promote Storytime Live. And she actually had 2 students that are in the program read a book live. And so she gave them books to choose from, and then they had the opportunity to practice with them, and it went over very well. Considering they're young, they were very professional. In this last week, a Millikan music teacher has given an assignment to her students. They're supposed to find picture books at the library and set them to music. And so we had the fun opportunity of going through and finding books that we think would translate well into music. And there's also a lot of great picture books that are already kind of set to music, whether people realize it or not. So we got quite the stack. So when they came in, it was not quite the scavenger hunt. And then finally, we have a student who wanted to put together a multicultural program. And she was working with the children's area to put together a program. And she also wanted to actually do it. But under COVID, we can't really do the kind of programming she was looking for. And so instead, Susan is working with her to do a Storytime Live also. It'll be entirely multicultural, and Shelby is her name, and she will get to read a book as well. So we've been having some fun in the last few months, despite the chaos that's going on around us.
It's really cool. Any questions for Alyssa? All right, then we'll move on to Carol.
I want to add one more thing from Robert just reminded me of from his report. He is going to resume computer classes very soon. We can keep that small enough that we can keep it safe. So there's been a lot of clamor for that. So they're going to be resuming soon.
Well, if we're going to say that, Amanda and I met with Baby Talk last week, and we're going to work on a proposal to have Baby Talk provided in the library again, much like taxes. They have to provide the proposal, and we will work with them to keep it safe.
Perfect. All right, Carol.
I don't have anything new. You can pretty much copy and paste. It's a lot of tweaking processes, and we work with PRS a lot to tidy up some of the older materials that we need to keep to get the classification right. I've been working closely with John, and he's been great. He doesn't send me too much. I let him know when I'm ready for a batch, and then you know, because of the way materials come in now, we could either have 50 boxes or no boxes. So it's just kind of a juggling act to keep that all going. But everybody's flexible, and you know, we've been working with some of Alyssa's staff to get some of the boxes out and to come up with clever ways to package things that aren't expensive. And you know, Stan's really good here with coming up with new ways to package things and not spend a lot of money. So that's fun. And yeah, it's pretty much, we're pretty much just steady on. So,
It's not a flashy department, but if it's not
No.
done, you're only, it's like a referee. You know, referee is good when you don't notice the referee. And
yeah.
if,
So if you don't notice us, then
if we notice,
then we're doing all right.
right.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Does anybody have any questions for Carol or Alyssa?
I just have a general question. I wanted to find out how are people, are staff able to start getting vaccinated?
Yes.
Yes.
I got my first dose today.
Going Friday.
Yay!
Yes, but not in Macon County. Sangamon County is allowing us to come and get vaccinated.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And then obviously you'll keep track of who's been 100% vaccinated.
Yes,
So eventually, hopefully, everybody in the library will be 100% vaccinated.
100% vaccinated is, you know, considered 2 weeks after your second vaccination. Right now, there's only one person who fits that, who has provided me with the documentation about that. But they won't have to follow the same protocols as everyone else. You know, we're still going to mask simply because it's just too hard to explain to the public. Well, he cannot wear, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I
but we
agree.
won't-
It's just nice to know that everybody on the library staff is safe. That's
Well,
more what I'm thinking.
But also, it's right now, if you tell me you've got cough, you're going home, and either you're going to give me 2 positive COVID results 24 hours apart, or you're going to be home for 10 days.
2 negative, you mean?
2 negative, yes, 2 negative, that's right. But you won't have to do that, you know, unless you're also have had close contact. So there's a lot of good reasons to track. And right now we've only got one person who meets it, but soon there will be quite a few more.
It'll happen sooner than we think, which is good.
Great. All right. Well, if Rick wants to, you guys can go.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So we'll move on to the PPPR committee meeting. Michael's not here. So the personnel updates we kind of already heard throughout the committee reports. So probably can move on. The building use policy, that is the one. Okay, so that one I do need a motion to accept the policy. We did not make any change. We didn't make any big changes. I think we changed the library.
We capitalized some things that were.
Yeah, we made some.
Everything else is the same.
Yes. So the gist of it is the same.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay.
So so it's the recommendation of the Personnel Policy and Public Relations Committee to approve this?
Correct.
Okay.
So is there any discussion, any questions about it? Okay, so we will move on to the vote. So we'll do Amy.
Yes.
Kate.
Yes.
Sophia.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes.
Greg.
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
Samantha, yes. Okay. The library building use policy is passed. Then we talked about DEI a little bit. Robert, do you want to go over anything with that?
Sure. It's been an exciting few weeks, especially our meeting yesterday. Samantha made it, and Carl made the one earlier when we talked with the we're trying to get all our committee members up to speed so we can move forward. And I'm not sure if you guys remember the last time we talked, we were looking to get everyone's opinion on the consultants. So we also scheduled, well, first of all, let me back up. The staff, all of the DEI staff and some of the other staff, we just completed a three-week training with library journal sessions that was held across the country, actually. And so we had staff that were involved in that. It was good sessions. There were some good speakers that were involved in that, and some good ideas from all different types of library and different cities. So with the our consultant, I think last time we talked, we were wanting to see if we wanted to move forward and what kind of questions we would ask. And so after meeting with all of our committee members, what we decided to do is to get an appointment with Library Strategies. Library Strategies help us put together our strategic plan that we're just right now ending 2021. So we met with Stu and Elaine and Betsy, and it was Carol and Samantha and I, and it was really good session. And Samantha, she can tell you about it too. I mean, he basically, I'm just basically going to say what he was really adamant about, that we continue and conclude the DEI sessions and our whole process, to use that going forward with strategic planning, because he said that's the lens you're going to look at your strategic planning through. You're going to look through that DEI, that process. He definitely stressed some of the need for the needs assessment with the community services, and all that staff and what have you. So go ahead, Samantha, if you got more you want to add on there.
I mean, it was mainly talking about, so like the main things I took away was kind of the three different pieces of it, or the community needs. So you start off with that and you figure out what your community needs, and then your staff, and then your your process, like your program, right? That's the last one, was kind of like your equity and it's not only racial equity, it's like your poverty levels and just all levels of equity. So it was a really good conversation yesterday. So I think they gave us more to think about, but I think the next step is basically we're just going to probably invite Christina back and just ask more questions about the process and what her being here would actually look like.
Right. So. And that's what I got from the other committee members is basically, sort of have her do a drill down with her proposal. Say, what are we looking at, and your methods of your approach to this whole training, and getting us ready for to be where we need to be. So I did like, also, his thoughts about auditing, and the services to the community, as you said, also having an external focus as well as an internal focus, looking at the environment for both places. So, Stu definitely is a guy who's been there and he knows what he's talking about. So I think it was a good meeting, and, I came away with it with a good feeling that we're going in the right direction. We're looking at the DEI needs and, DEI process, and we're looking at a consultant, and we're looking at other consultants to see what questions are the right questions to ask before we actually engage our services. So I think right now we're at the point of, like Samantha said, having her back, asking some questions, and maybe some other, if you guys have questions, we can just add those to the list, so we can see if we want to go forward with her.
Yep. Any questions for either of us?
So just when do you guys envision that you'll wrap it up?
I think my hope would be in the next month, but I don't know what her availability is to come back,
Okay.
and I don't know what the other members are. We didn't really talk about it yesterday after.
Okay.
Yeah, Carol sent out a doodle poll, and we've contacted every person. So it'll be when you say wrap it up, do you mean bringing it before the?
Yes. Yes.
Say, okay, here's who we have, here's who we're going to go with, and we're going to start training.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Samantha. I think I'd like to see that happen within a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Was yesterday's call, the second one, was that recorded by chance?
It was not.
I think some of it may have been recorded, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't remember.
I'll ask them because I thought she said she started the recording.
Oh, maybe she did. I don't know, because I think I got on a little late. So.
Well, if it's recorded, I would definitely like to view it a second time. Obviously, I was on the call earlier, but I didn't have the chance to get on it.
Yeah. All right. So, any other discussion okay. The Finance and Properties Committee met on November. Oh, this says November. Right?
Yeah, that's not right.
We met last week.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I remember meeting last week.
I was like, wait.
I think it was recorded too. We've got proof.
It was a very uneventful meeting. We looked at the check register for the first 2 months of the year, and it was all standard business, mostly materials actually. So the committee recommends approval of this body of the check registers for January and February.
So
I second that.
all right. So we'll go down the list. So Amy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Sophia,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes, yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
and Samantha. Yes. So
And then we also looked at, Rick does a actual versus budget, and he doesn't start the projection yet because we're still only 2 months into the year. The only item of note would be that we did receive the final installment of last year's property taxes in this fiscal year. Because we're on completely cash accounting, I don't really understand why we do that, but we do. We're on cash accounting, that shows up as revenues this year, but it is actually the final installment of property taxes from last year, which I think Greg said came in slightly above what the levied amount was.
Correct.
Or what the expectation was, which is, good for happy surprises. We had a preliminary discussion about capital needs, and we'll be continuing that discussion going forward.
okay, great. Well, thank you. So move on to foundation. It says upcoming meeting discussion.
Yeah, I'm talking to Tina Zindel-McWilliams about having one in early April. We do have a proposal from Benson Sign. So there's a lot of okays that we'll need on this. It's it's an LED sign. The proposal is right up above on Franklin Street, where the tall sign says Decatur Public Library, having an LED message sign under that. So we've got, we have to, I've already sent it to the proposal to Deputy City Manager Kinseth, and, he'll take it through the proper channels for city approval. I want to see if the foundation is willing to pay for it. And then, of course, this board will also have to give blessing. I can send you the proposal out now so you can see the mock-up. It looks pretty cool. It is, if the foundation says they will fund it, if this particular proposal from this particular company is the one we want, or if they say they'll only fund it for Benson, then and all the other bodies are okay with it, it's a done deal. If they say we're willing to fund that much, but not any particular company, then we're gonna have to go out to bid because this particular proposal is over.
Slowing down there.
It's barely over the threshold, but our attorney advises us that if the foundation board says, yes, we'll pay for it from Benson Signs and Benson Signs only, then you don't have to go through it because there won't be any public monies in it.
Right. I just got the notice that my internet is unstable. So
Yeah, you were really frozen for a second.
I've got a question. What kind of announcements would you anticipate going on this summer?
About programs and you know, it would have been really helpful during the pandemic, you know, to tell people whether we're open or not, and that. But I foresee it mostly as programs. You know, what is going on at the library, what's upcoming at the library, and it could be about new materials that are super popular. But I'm willing to broaden that out, or it could be about, hey, the foundation donor drive is underway, or Friends book sale on Saturday, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Rick, could you send that to us?
Yeah, I'll do it right now, in fact.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, I've been wanting a sign like that for a long time, so I think it'd be really great. Any other questions? All right, so Friends of the Library.
They met last week, and they approved a handful of programs, mostly like armchair travel type stuff that we've got coming up. And then there was something on jazz appreciation, which looked pretty interesting. And they're all remote programs. They approved all those. And then they spent a lot of time, they're going over their bylaws with a fine tooth comb. That was the biggest part of their meeting.
Fun. All right. So then IHLS, that's also you, Rick.
Yeah, and I didn't get, wait a minute, I do have it here somewhere. The biggest thing that we're looking at right now is an app called Solus, and that would be shared throughout the system wide. I haven't seen any numbers on what it's going to cost. I would imagine that the IHLS isn't going to pick up the entire cost of it. Or if they do, it'll be, you know, the basic without any bells and whistles. But this is I've talked to you guys a little bit about this app in the past. It is it will allow you to, if you download the app to your phone, it will allow you to, in the stacks, pull something out and check it out and walk out with that. It'll be checked out to your account and it won't set off the alarms. That's one thing it'll do. Okay. It will also, you can do all your searching and all your holds and all your reserves. You can do curbside reservations on it. You can do, we can send messages to you on it depending on where you're standing in the library. If you've got your notifications on, I mean, like if you're over in the 900s, we can say, hey, there's a history program coming up that you might be interested in, because we assume that if you're standing over there, you're interested in history. So there's a lot of, it's got, and I'm just scratching the surface. There's a ton of really cool stuff it can do. So when I sat through a demo that was well over an hour, and when I was asked my thoughts were this, you guys, you know, to the developers, you guys have clearly been listening to librarians and library patrons, because this is the one thing. It also searches across every platform. So if you're searching for a particular book, you search all of our electronic platforms and our physical catalog all at the same time, and you get the results for everything. So it's
So I have a couple questions. So
yeah.
How does it, I mean, like, I don't know, and I don't know about some of our other libraries in the system, but is this going to be useful to all the libraries? Because not everybody is has our technology and everything. So that's my first question.
I look at as I look at the comments, because it's open for public comment right now for member libraries right now, everybody's excited about it.
Okay. And then my second question is, would we get rid of My Libro then?
That is something I talked to My Libro about last week, and they said they're rolling out new things, and they might, you know, there may be redundancy, and if there is, there is. And I signed or intend to sign My Libro for another year if we don't have Solus yet. But it's My Libro is relatively inexpensive as these things go. It's right around $3,000 a year. It does its job. It's just and it does a lot. It does some cool things too, but it's not nearly as expansive as the Solus app is.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else? Okay. Old business is just board openings. I still have no response. So, have you heard anything, Rick? Okay.
No. And but you did follow up from the last time we talked?
I did follow up, but I haven't heard anything. So I'll try to give her a call. And if anybody has, any recommendations, they're always welcome. Then the last part is new business and meeting room policies. So you had an interpretation question?
Yeah. Trying to do too many things at once. I'm trying to attach this email you guys with that Benson sign thing, but let me pull up and share with you that policy and tell you why. And I can also show you the So this is the sign proposal, by the way, and I'll send this to you so you can have a better look at it. But the meeting room policy, what I was asked by a volunteer, she doesn't serve on any boards, but she volunteers here. She said that she and many other people she knows would be interested in using the meeting rooms either individually or pairs to do things like genealogy or maybe crocheting or quilting or scrapbooks or whatever. Right now they have to go to Forsyth or they go to Barclay or wherever to do that. So because we don't do that, as I look at our policy, I'm not so sure that that's clear. The very first sentence says, Decatur Public Library welcomes the use of its meeting rooms by organizations and individuals in the community. Now, if we go down towards the end, there are things that say an organization. It never refers again to individuals. The organization, an organization. Organizations may. So I just want to know that I just want to be clear on the library, or on the board's intent and desire here. But there's also this sentence: meeting rooms are not available for private social functions. Whether you consider what Charlotte is asking about as a social function or not, that's up to interpretation. It's not a huge deal one way or another. I don't know that people are clamoring for it, but I think it's a legitimate question, and it's not 100% clear to me what the intent is.
Can I ask a question? So she would want to do something like maybe having 5 ladies together and quilting or
yeah, she was talking about she and a
book
friend
club or something
and
like
one
this.
friend do it, but I think that's where it gets. We would for like if there was a group that approached us and said we've got 5 people in a book club, we would allow them to use it up to 12 times a year. So what if one person says, really, I just want a quiet place to work on my genealogy project. What would we say then? or show my films to people who.
Yeah. It's a very interesting point.
So I don't know.
Did we not end up with the policy we have because of things that occurred previously?
No, well, not to my knowledge. We've had,
Not really.
the only thing we changed on this policy when we reviewed it last year was we made it free to not-for-profits and community organizations.
Yeah.
Or educational or government organizations.
Well, the only thing I think is if we start opening it up to individuals, I don't know, it just seems to me there's a fine line there, you know, as to what do we allow individuals to do in the library. You know, and I thought that's why we kind of limited it to organizations, because it kind of potentially opens up, or maybe it doesn't open up. But
yeah, and we may have, if we did that, we did it some time ago. And I'm okay, but I think if we do that, may want to bring it before the committee again to it just might be easier just to eliminate that word individuals in the first sentence. Yeah. That's the only thing that makes it unclear. Other than that, there's never again a reference to individuals or it's always organizations.
Yeah. But in this case, is an organization, you know, can 5 women who do quilting define themselves as an organization and they qualify then?
I suppose they probably could, you know, if they, you know, if they gave, you know, if they came up to us with a name, you know, and we probably wouldn't really want to get off into those weeds of disputing. If we ever get our remodeling off the ground, it has private study rooms in it of various sizes, and that would solve this problem. Right. But you know, what I'm hearing you say, and it's not an action item, but kind of what I'm hearing you say is that the intent seems to be that it's for organizations, and I will bring it back to the PPPR committee next month to just make that clear in the language.
Carl?
We should make it as available as possible. I mean, as myself, it's something that I've thought about doing is organizing a few individuals. I mean, I have an organization, but it's not a registered 501c3 or a 4, so to speak. So if I were to come do that and do the same process, I mean, I think, like you said, a group of 5, you know, women that want to get together and quilt, I think they should be able to, and then maybe for kind of random purposes, like, you know, I don't know, that'd be a different thing. But, you know, things somewhat pertaining to communal or informational sharing, whether that be, you know, some kind of seminar or even if it is an informational documentary, as long as it's within reason and bound, I think there should be some degree of discretion at the board, so that if there is something that we think would be, you know, not necessarily we want to be shown in the library, that we have some degree of mechanism to say no, but or to at least change your programming situation, because obviously we've had those issues in the past, but I don't think we should start putting like restrictions on it.
We've never insisted that it's a 501c3, you know, that registration, because a lot of community organizations don't go to those lengths. There's a lot of hoops to jump through, and they don't really need to. If there's a community organization that doesn't have 501c3 status, we still don't, you know, we're not going to charge them for it, and we would say yes to them. Maybe I should just bring it back to committee for a full discussion about that particular issue and see what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I would just.
I agree with Carl, what he said. And I think bringing it back to committee would be fine, just so that they can firm it up and then we'll all just agree with it.
Okay. Since I'm on that committee, and this may be nitpicky, but what exactly did this woman was asking you?
Yeah, well, she asked, you know, she said, you know, if I want to use one of those meeting rooms by myself, I can't. I've got to go to Forsyth or Mount Zion or Barclay Public Library and get it. And she said, sometimes it's not just me. Sometimes me and a friend will do, you know, work on, genealogy, for instance, or something together. And it's just nice to have a quiet place that we can do that. It's not an unreasonable request.
Yeah. No. Okay.
I don't know whether that's the intent of the room.
Yeah.
We have a quiet room off to the west part of the building for that exact purpose there.
Yeah.
We do have a quiet study room.
I've gone there for that purpose.
But if two people go in there, we don't keep other people out.
Yeah,
that's-
anybody
Be
can go
quiet.
in.
So if you're, and anybody can use that except for it's closed because of COVID right now.
Underdoors.
But once it reopens, anybody is welcome to use that. And again, if we ever get the remodeling off the ground, it includes all of the plans include plenty of private study rooms that are of various size.
Well-
Can you also, like, in preparation for that, find out like what other, like Barclay and Forest, like Florence, wherever, like
Sure.
the other libraries.
I mean, according to Charlotte, they're allowing her. So, but I can reach out to them. We've done it here before. We have. But I don't think the policy is clear. I don't really have a dog in the hunt. I just want some clarification and see, what you guys intend so that we can follow the policy as it's intended.
Correct. And it has to be equitable. Like if
Correct.
you allow certain things, like you can't, we just
Allow
have
that
to,
thing for everybody. That's
we
right.
just have to be clear. So so let's take it back to committee. We can chat about it and decide what we want to do.
Okay. On that note, are we now open for, is the meeting rooms now open? I asked because Beautify Decatur is going to begin meeting, and we are going to begin meeting in person starting next month. So am I free to?
We have not, except with a very few exceptions. I'll tell you what those exceptions are. Library programs, and even them we're keeping to a minimum. And I did allow the health department to have a meeting here because I figure if anybody can be trusted to follow the COVID restrictions without us being in there, it's them. Plus we are working with them to perhaps become a vaccination site. But right now we are not ready to. Part of it is because the only room we can do it, unless you've got a really small group, is the Madden. And even then, so I'll show you how it was with the health department. So 20 people in the meeting. That's not a lot. They wanted it in a circle, right? It took up the entire perimeter of the room to keep it 6 feet apart. And that's the biggest room we have. So that, at least set up it's turned out to be a rectangle, not a circle, but at least with that particular setup, 20 is the max. But once taxes are done, because we've got a 20 per day service on taxes. Is it 40 on Saturdays, Robert, and 20 on Thursday? Yeah, because Thursday is only a couple hours. Once that's done, I'll go back to the table and relook at it. And of course, if in the meantime we go to phase 5, sky's the limit. But
Okay.
But I hope that come mid-April, we'll be able to begin to dip our toe in again, at least.
Okay.
Awesome.
So holler at me in mid-April.
Okay, will do.
Any other new business? All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll
Somebody-
second.
Okay. So Amy,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
Sophia,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Samantha, yes. Meeting is adjourned.